if you Google AI or machine learning or any other tech, you'll find resources already out there. Courses, traditional university courses, online courses. That's not the case for blockchain. That was always a mystery to me, and I was intrigued.
On this episode of Blockpreneurs, we're going to be talking to our very own student, Abdulla AlAwadi. He will give us some very interesting insights about blockchain markets and tell us about his journey of joining ESB at the start. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Blockpreneurs is a podcast that brings together entrepreneurship and blockchain technology in the same space. It's perfect for those of you who are interested to learn, and even for those of you who are already established and understand blockchain technology. In the meantime, grab a coffee and enjoy this episode. And if you're interested in joining our program, reach out to us. We'd be happy to get you on board.
I feel like I was brought in by the hype in 2020. So I think this is a good time to tell my story.
Yeah.
I graduated from university, master's in December 2020. Best time to graduate ever.
Perfect time.
Sarcasm, by the way. Peak COVID. No one was hiring.
Yeah.
And at that time, I guess the last crypto bull run, the crazy bull run, was just about to start. So everyone was talking about it. And I've heard about crypto in 2017.
Early days.
Yeah, I bought a few XRP tokens. In 2020, everything moved except XRP. At that point, it was a stable coin. So I was like, okay, let me go back to it and try to be more active with the crypto investments. Fast forward about 9 months, I started working at Expo. We were having a conversation on the famous couch.
The famous couch.
About crypto and Bitcoin specifically with a couple of guys. And I was one of the few who knew about crypto, but on a very surface level.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying that it's just a decentralized ledger. I didn't know much about it. And then Moza came late.
As usual.
And
I swear I worked on it.
And she started talking, and then I clocked that she's not talking as an investor, and she's not talking like she was more deeper into the field from a developer perspective. So I asked her, where did you learn about this? Did you go to a uni? Did you take a uni course? Because when you think about learning, you think uni, you think school. And then she introduced me to ESB. A week later, I took my admission assessment and all that, and now we're here.
Here we are. So you said something interesting. The first thought that you got when you heard about learning about blockchain, from my experience, your thought was the traditional way of learning, which is like you either go to a university or you go to a school in a way where there is a fixed curriculum and you learn from that. So that brings up a very interesting point that blockchain technology is really at the start of its journey, I would say. It's not that new, but it's still new in respect to other technologies that exist out there. So it's not that easy to find places to learn this technology in a very scientific way and in a business-oriented way, which makes the experience at ESB very special, especially that we are the only training institute who's certified by the KHDA with a program of blockchain science for business. So what sold you on the idea of joining ESB other than the experience or the interaction that you had with me? How was your experience when you first came in?
I mean, I've always been more or less interested in the field. I try to follow different tech loosely.
Yeah.
I try to be up to date with the latest tech trends. And blockchain was one of them, but for some reason, blockchain is very hard to trace in terms of like where to learn. What do you even learn as a blockchain developer? What is it? Like if you Google AI or machine learning or any other tech, you'll find resources already out there. Courses, traditional university courses, online courses. That's not the case for blockchain. That was always a mystery to me, and I was intrigued.
Yeah.
So when I found the opportunity, I just decided to join and see what happens. And honestly, it's been good so far. You're in control, full control of what and when you want to learn, how much time do you want to spend, and you're given the resources.
Yeah.
You just have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And
Show
it's
up.
not like a lecture where you have to sit there listening to someone lecture you about it. It's all about you. Do you want to learn? So you watch a video, you read a text, you're interested, go research it more. You're not, move on to the next topic. And I guess this is a good thing that ESB does.
Yeah, it's a very tailored and a very personalized experience, and that's something not easily found in other places. So let's talk about being a developer. What does that appeal? So what about that appeals for you? So you could have been specializing in any form of blockchain domain, right? So we have so many places or specializations to choose from. So being a developer, how does that appeal to you? And if you had to explain it to someone who doesn't understand what it means to be a developer, and specifically a blockchain developer, how would you do that?
I guess it comes back to my personality. I'm almost always interested in the technical aspect of things.
Yeah.
I don't like to be on a surface level. I like to go deep. I like to build from the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided to become a blockchain developer. Yeah, it's basically to build your own project. I wanted to be in full control, build what I want to see. And
it does give you the freedom to choose from so many different industries. So being a blockchain developer is very unique, I think, compared to other kinds of programmers or developers, because being a blockchain developer is the opportunities that you have and the way you can interact with projects, in my opinion, is very unique. So you don't just go the traditional way, you know?
Yeah, like I think people think when you join the blockchain field, like they become a developer or a programmer, it's either that they do their own business or they join a company. When the space and the ecosystem with blockchain is very unique. Like you can take small projects, or you can be what we call, for example, in the DeFi space, keepers, where you build programs in the form of smart contracts to just protect the ecosystem. And then you get rewarded just for being like a keeper and protecting the system. When something goes wrong, or when you're inspecting that something might goes wrong, you just interfere and then take corrective action to avoid that the ecosystem would sustain losses, for example. And I hear a lot, like when I go through podcasts or I hear people who work in the space, that they enjoy the freedom they get. Is like literally they can be working for 2-3 hours building something, and then they're on their couch enjoying watching something on Netflix.
I'm not complaining.
And this is one of the appeals in the field, is that you can be so many different things, but you are like, we can both be developers living two different career wise or job wise. You can work on a single big project that you spend hours every day for months on or years, or you can be a part of a community. And this is one of the appeals in the blockchain space, is that there is always a community, and you get rewarded for being part of the community. In the for example of a keeper, you can just work on a specific part of the project, build it for the community, for the blockchain space, and then move on to something else.
And that's always exciting, because the new opportunities, you just don't know what's coming next for you. It's always exciting. And even if you look at the basic choices when you want to become a developer, you also get to choose between being a core developer, working on creating blockchains themselves. So you're working within the infrastructure and the protocols of the blockchain. And then you also get to choose if you want to become a blockchain software developer, and that's when you get to build on top of existing blockchains. So when we say we are blockchain developers, we don't necessarily mean that we are building an entirely new blockchain. And you can just be someone who chooses different or specific blockchains and build on top of that. So that's also a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, I guess we are both blockchain software
Software
developer and
developers,
not infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't regret that. I feel like it's, it's a lot more fun, and I feel like if you work with protocols and it's just, in my opinion, it's a lot more complicated than what we do. So I'm happy where we are.
It's for different type of people. Like
I
I feel
think
like
so.
it's also a personality thing.
Yeah, and
What
talking.
about the time of joining? The more you wait, I think the more you'd be.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's with everything in life. The earlier you are, the higher the reward, and then it scales down as time moves on and the industry becomes more mature, more saturated, and then it becomes extremely competitive.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you have a thought or you're thinking about blockchain, at least read on it, weigh the pros and cons, because with everything there are cons. Blockchain is not perfect. It's not it's not always good things. There are
Yeah.
also risk and reward. And at least make an informed decision. The earlier, the better. You don't want to wait until everyone is a blockchain developer, and then you'll have to really compete.
But
To
it's
stand
already a
out.
competitive space.
It's a
being developer,
competitive space, but still the rewards is
It's still
very
high.
high. Companies are joining in the space now to find out what they can do with the blockchain, or how, like, not what they can do, how they can also benefit from the blockchain.
Yeah.
I think we're at the time where the question is no longer if blockchain is
Viable.
going to remain viable or not. It's actually now people see this technology, see this tool, and then like, okay, wow, what can we do with it?
How can we maximize the potential of blockchain?
Is there like a project that has caught your attention recently?
There are a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Well, I'll answer this question, but I also want to go back a step behind, is that we never we never hear about those projects, about the success story in blockchain. We always hear about the failures, about the fraud, about the Ponzi's. And that's the image that everyone has on blockchain, because they mainly link it to crypto. But if you look deeper into the field, you'll find that big companies, huge companies that we use almost every day are using blockchain. And we as consumers sometimes are using blockchain without knowing. So, for example, I work in a bank, and even working there, I didn't know that they implement blockchain. I just asked a question. I was like, okay, our bank is always trying to be ahead in technology. Why not blockchain? And then I got an answer. Who said that we are not using blockchain? We're already using it. And I think a few banks in the UAE are using this blockchain project where when companies want to open accounts, previously the company have to send the trade license manually to the bank so that they can open the account. Now the banks do it automatically and fetch the trade license from the database.
Yeah, I remember I read in the news many banks in UAE, it was a project led by the IFC, and many banks in the UAE are using a platform established by Norblock, which is specifically made for KYC. And this is the beauty of blockchain technology, is normally banks are competing against each other.
Yeah.
But now you can see that all the banks are coming together and using that tool to serve the end customer better. And this is the beauty of, I think, having these decentralized ledgers, is ultimately is how you can add value to your end consumer. And it doesn't always have to be that we're in head-to-head competition.
You're still competing, but you're also, it's a healthy competition.
It's a healthy competition.
Yeah.
You still find your way to work together.
Yeah, also another example is HSBC London. They are implementing crypto tokens and linking them to gold bars that they keep at the bank's vault. So to track ownership. So if you own that specific crypto token, then it correlates to a specific gold bar that's in the bank's vault.
Yeah.
And we all know HSBC. It's one of the most famous banks. That's another example of an established company using blockchain. A big one is Maersk, the logistics and shipment company, the largest in the world. So they are using blockchain to track shipments, and they already published a case study. And in that case study, they state that using blockchain, they call it the Maersk blockchain case study, their numbers became better, like insanely better. We're talking about 15% increase in shipment capacity and 10% decrease in cost. And that's besides like eliminating human error or minimizing, I wouldn't say eliminating, minimizing human error, saving time, resources, paper, etc. So again, the most established shipment company in the world is using blockchain. But if you ask the general public about it, they probably don't know. If you try to search it in the news, you'll struggle to find a recent article talking about
I
it.
like the example of Marisk because it brings a good perspective on how we can improve our services. Like Marisk is the biggest in the world. Like probably improving their services or serving customers better does not necessarily mean is that they improve on the number of shipping containers they use, but it's just using technology to make the service more seamless, more efficient, which save them costs and which allows them to do a service faster and better. So like one would think if I need to improve on a service, let me increase more shipment containers, but that's not necessarily always the way to innovate and do things better.
Sometimes it's just to eliminate the needless steps.
And
we're talking about an established company where at this stage of their life, if you see a 2-3% or 4% improvement, it's considered huge. And we're talking about 15%.
That's billions.
That's insane, And the last example I want to talk about is about commodity trading platform. So now the name isn't with me right now. I don't remember it. But basically, they are using blockchain to make the settlement time for transactions much shorter. Previously, it takes them weeks to track the commodity trade, change of ownership, the payments, settlement, etc. After they implemented blockchain, it's taking them a couple of days or maybe one day in some cases.
So the examples you gave are interesting because you gave them from so many different industries, like shipping, from commodity.
So many different industries and established industries. It's not like, because a lot of people feel that the Web3 is just another space.
I think even before joining the blockchain development program, I used to think that, okay, in order for us to use Web3, we'll have to stop using everything else that we are currently using make a huge shift towards it. It's as if you're moving from a place to another. But in fact, Web3 just works with what we currently have. It's not that we're reinventing everything. We're just improving it.
I think that's what's going to happen in terms of a couple of years ahead. It's going to just seamlessly integrate into what we do. Just like the internet has integrated into everything we do. Like we can't function without our phone nowadays, without access to the internet. Everything we do is somehow linked to the online world. I think it's going to be the same thing because like you said in the example of Marisk, a lot of people are dealing with Marisk and as consumers we're probably affected by the shipping movement of such a huge shipping company. But it's not like it's not in a way where it's like business to consumer directly. It's more like within the business or the B2B world. So it is shifting the way we operate in our life, but just not that directly. And I think because the blockchain system is, I'm not going to say all of it, but a lot of it is happening on the back end. So a lot of it is going to start integrating into our life and we're going to realize it after it's done, maybe not while it's happening, except if you are in the space and interested to actually build
the bank's example and Marisk example are perfect examples. Is that as an end consumer, I don't know that they're using blockchain. I don't care that they're using blockchain in a sense of the way that I am interacting with my bank is not changing significantly. It's just that, okay, one step now, I don't have to send my trade license manually. It's done automatically. It's not that as if I'll have to get used to a new way to dealing with my bank.
Yeah. And that's a challenge in the blockchain world where when you want to implement blockchain into a system, you have to be very careful to implement it in a way where people can actually interact with it. And like you also have to look at the industry if it's ready to implement it, right? So what's your opinion on like the markets? Are they ready to receive this kind of project or?
Well, that's a loaded question. But I guess we can talk about risks and like making the move towards, well, dedicating your time and effort into learning blockchain development. What does it entail in terms of risks? Obviously, there's always an opportunity risk because you can spend your time or money somewhere else learning a different skill, getting a uni degree, professional certification, etc. And that's with everything in life.
Yeah.
You'll never make the perfect decision. You'll have to be in peace with that.
Yeah,
That's
compromise.
step number one.
Yeah.
Another risk is, as we said, market risk. Are the markets ready to basically receive the blockchain project? How will it change the market? Will it be beneficial, worth the change? Because sometimes, even if something is better, but if the results aren't worth it, sometimes you'll have to wait before implementing. Also, the market itself, like, okay, I want to become a blockchain developer. I want to have my own business based on the blockchain. But is the market already saturated? Is there a place for a new business in general in this market? And that's also, that comes in any type of business, not just blockchain specific. You can be in a traditional business and the same risk or question is still asked. And another risk, this is more specific to the blockchain, is technology risk. What if in a few years you decided to study or learn blockchain development right now, and in a few years a new technology comes in that's better, more efficient, and then upgrade on the blockchain technology in every sense of the world? But also that's natural and that happens in life. So it's all about you, what do you think is worth, and weighing your options.
I'll add on the market risk, since we also spoke about the NordBlock platform. I remember hearing the founder of NordBlock talking about the platform is when he established the platform, he actually approached European banks first. And they all asked him the question, is too risky for us? Where is your reference case? But he found a welcoming ecosystem here in Dubai. And he came to Dubai and started establishing the platform with banks in UAE. And I think that's the beauty of the even technology, is that when you create it, you're not just like cornered within one market. Like the founder saw that the European market is not ready, but he actually moved into a place where the market was ready to accept such an innovation and move ahead with it.
And one advantage we have here in the UAE is that we're still an emerging market. We're not as established as some of the European market. So for established markets, sometimes they feel like they're already on top. They don't need to change anything. If it's not broken, why fix it?
Yeah.
But for emerging markets, you're trying to catch up. You're trying to always improve. So that's an advantage of being in an emerging market, is that there's always a chance to create something new.
You also know how to program in the Web 2 space. So how is this different from being from Web 2 to Web 3?
I guess, first of all, my programming background is basic to intermediate, let's say. It's not, I'm not an expert, I'm not a software engineer. I just know programming languages and I can write code. But I think a big difference is that, well, in the blockchain ecosystem, you have more things interacting with your program. But I feel like even having a programming background helps you translate that into the Web3. So you can think from a logical programming perspective. It's still the same. It's just that there are more things to think about.
The programming languages in the blockchain space are built with not on top, but like with reference or based on programming languages that existed in Web 2. And something that I realized after becoming a developer in blockchain, because at the start I feel like I had a bit of a misconception in terms of being a blockchain developer meant you just needed to focus on
Writing code.
writing smart contract code, which is done using programming languages that are new, like Solidity and the other languages that are also emerging but very new as well. But in reality, it works in an idealistic point of view, but in reality, having the tools of traditional programming languages like JavaScript and Python and HTML and CSS and etc., those would give you a big boost, because the smart contract is a very powerful tool. It's kind of like the brains of any project that will have a blockchain backend system, but you still need to build the rest of the body. So it's actually, I think, very interesting that you come from the Web 2 tools and bring them into the Web 3. It just makes it more powerful.
I like how Moza comes without any
Background information and programming.
on
I
even
think
Web 2.
Whatsoever.
We're two different
Yeah.
case studies. At the end of the day, we're
To
going
be
to be...
fair, I know a
Still,
bit
both
of math
of
lab,
you
but-
are now blockchain developers, which
Different
Yeah,
proves
it tells you that you don't have to be a software
Yeah.
engineer in order to be a
Yeah.
blockchain
I mean,
developer.
neither of us
or-
are software engineers.
And I think this is the beauty of the space, is that, again, because the market hasn't matured, it's still growing and evolving. It's a good time to come in and learn and explore what's happening and see if it fits you and you want to specialize in, or something that's unsuitable and you want to do something else.
And at the end of the day, you never lose when you learn something new.
For sure.
So, for example, I did my university degree in mechanical engineering, and now I work in a bank. I can tell you that I'm not using my degree in a sense of I'm not applying mechanical engineering, but I'm using the skills I learned
As an
when I
engineer.
went through the degree, right? The critical thinking skills, problem solving, and even like the skill of learning new things at the end of
Yeah.
the day, because when you learn new things, you come across different challenges on how to learn, even
Yeah.
not just the topic itself, but how to simplify the topic for you to understand. And the skills translates into different fields.
And can I add to the learning journey of becoming a developer, something I was a bit, it's kind of like a culture shock for me, to be honest. But the interesting part about this field is how easy it is to connect and learn from very established developers in this industry. Let's say you want to work on a project and use somewhat of a blockchain tool in terms of development, and you will probably struggle first because there won't be a lot of use cases and a lot of reference, so you'll only be stuck with the documentation to work with. But the interesting part is it's so easy to connect to the actual developers of that tool or that platform, and they'd be very welcoming and very easy to approach and help you out. And in no way would they make you feel less of an expert just because you are asking the silly, easy questions at the start.
Yeah, and this comes down to two things. It's the sense of community in the blockchain
Yeah.
that we touched upon previously, and also it's because it's still evolving and new. Yeah, so you don't have those like top mature businesses that don't have time for you, basically.
Yeah.
I
for
think
sure.
what's making the technology so powerful, it's the sense of their communities.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, or every interesting idea and a project you see evolving and developing from an infrastructure side, there's a huge community support. And I like that once when we were discussing in our previous trip, the tools you use in developing, is a lot of these tools now are like you can use them for free.
Yeah. That's a big thing.
And like, so when you're now building something, you have a lot of access to resources that makes the industry so powerful and incentivize you to just build and grow more.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why we always say it's best to act now, at least make an informed decision, because a few years down the line, once everything is established, even those free tools might not
It will
be
become harder.
readily available, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
for sure. I think it's very interesting to
Were
have the
you,
access.
when you joined the program, were you with the intention of doing a business, or you just wanted to build development skills and just excel in your career?
So I wasn't in either side. I was more in the middle. It was like, so Moza explained to me that it's a blockchain science for business. So I had that in mind. But at the same time, I wasn't confident or 100% certain that, okay, I will do this certificate or program and end up with a business. But I was in the back of my head, I was like, okay, it's either I get a business out of it or I get a skill. So I was on the fence. Like I wasn't 100% sure, but I wanted to make the first step at least to try.
Was the certification a huge factor, or
No, I don't think I even knew that it was a certification. I thought it was just a program that's offered at an institute.
I mean,
I didn't
that's
know
a
that
smart
there was
approach.
that it was a certificate at the end. But again, I was just interested in the field itself. I wanted to learn it. I didn't want a certificate to add to my CV and apply to a 9-to-5 job, basically.
A lot of people, they want to do a business. Like they see the tools, they see the resources, they're still scared to take that step.
Yeah.
It is definitely scary because you have to commit, like time, effort, money, everything.
I think also it's like when you're part of ESB, we're offering you a program. It supports you with your business idea, with the concept, the plan, but then the execution is on you. And I think this is where a lot of the fear comes in place. Will I be able to do it? How will I find the support I need when I feel I'm stuck when I'm doing my actual business? Do you get this fear now as you're working towards establishing your business?
I mean, it comes and goes. There's definitely support even on the execution side. Like even if it's just like support from people telling you to do it, it's good enough to happen. Like at first when I came up, when I joined, I didn't have a business idea. I just wanted to learn the blockchain development. Yeah. And then even a few months in, I had no clue what I wanted to do at the end. But suddenly you have an idea. And even when I got the idea, I was like, it sounds too silly. But as the more you think about it, the more the support you get from others that, okay, it's not as silly as you think. It just needs a few things to improve it. And you start thinking about it and you start improving it upon the idea itself. And suddenly it turns from a silly idea to something that you want to actually
I wouldn't
produce
call
and
it
make.
silly as much as a very simple idea. I think all great businesses start with something very simple.
No, I call it silly because I feel like that's what we always think about ourselves.
Yeah.
Like when we
You
doubt
doubt yourself.
Doubt
ourselves.
yourself, yeah.
Like, I have this idea, but it's
Who's
not
gonna come and buy into it?
or it's not been done before. So if it was a good idea, someone would have done it.
Yeah.
You always have that doubt.
But why not you?
Yeah. But again, then it shifts to, no, maybe I came up with a good idea and I need to do it.
Yeah.
I need to be that someone.
And it's about consistency. When you work on something that's in the kind of like, okay, when you're trying to come up with an
Entrepreneur.
Sorry. So when you're trying to become an entrepreneur, so basically it can't be like a flat line journey. Like it's always going to have its ups and downs. And it's about the consistency of continuously believing in that idea and trying to learn how to execute it.
And challenging yourself,
Challenging
your
yourself.
doubts.
Exactly.
Because it's not just, the challenge is not just about learning how to code or learning how to do something. It's about the confidence that comes and goes, right? Is it good enough? Today it's good, tomorrow it's not.
The mental state you're in.
Keeping an open mind too.
It's mentally challenging, like in terms of like you have to commit, you have to
for sure
take that first step.
And you have to keep an open mind that you're going to keep on making mistakes. But the idea is to show up again and try in a different way.
And remain consistent.
Yeah.
I think if you want to see all success stories, they had an idea, they believed in it, even if it was silly, and they just remain consistent into executing this idea.
Yeah.
And not just executing this. I like how you said you kept improving on the idea. And I think this is an important factor as well in becoming successful with your business.
Yeah, because when you first think about it, you don't think about all the gaps, but you have to constantly think about the gaps. I think that's a skill you develop the more you go through this journey. Because at the beginning, when you start, you're like, okay, I just want the idea, and then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But then you come up with the idea, you're like, okay, but how will this work? How will this work? How will this work? And then you start doubting. But instead of doubting, you have to start thinking of how to make it work. Like there is a solution to every problem, right? So again, it's all a skill. It's all a journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's circle back into what brought you into the blockchain, which was investing in crypto. And then from there...
The most interesting topic to every single person.
Yeah, but then...
Again, sarcasm.
It's money.
How do I retire
It's
with
money.
crypto investment?
You hear these stories, you can become a millionaire in, I don't know, a month or a day. Just like...
Sure. Tomorrow.
Yeah. Then from being an investor into being a developer, that shift, did it change your perspective about blockchain industry? Do you still believe in investing, or do you think all investors should also invest other than their money, their time in learning the technology?
Well, first of all, again, I was always interested in the technology, and then I took the crypto investing route. I don't think that everyone should become a developer, and I don't think that everyone should become an investor, and I don't think that every investor should be a developer and every developer should be an investor, and vice versa. Like, you can be just an investor if that suits you, or you can be a developer if that suits you. So I guess it depends on the person. From person to person, you'll find different answers. But yeah, you don't have to be an investor in crypto in order to make the step to become a developer. That's for sure.
If you would give an advice to someone who's investing now in blockchain, how would you advise them to make this decision?
Well, obviously, it's the same things that you have to do when investing in anything, right? Even in traditional stock, you just don't go by the word of mouth. Oh, this will go to the moon. This will make you retire. It's never true. Never. I wouldn't even say almost always. It's never true, right? So you'll have to read more about the project, think if it makes sense, maybe consult with blockchain developers because they would know if the project makes sense or if someone is just selling words, right? Yeah, do your research before investing.
That brings us to a very good point, by the way. So blockchain projects are open sourced. A lot of them are. So it means you can actually read the documentation.
And if you don't find information, question that project.
Question that a lot. And you can even get to the point where you can look at the code and audit it yourself, you know? So knowledge is important here.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage with the blockchain. And I feel like the problem with the negative perception that we have right now is that people just go by, oh, this influencer endorsed this coin, so I'll just invest in it. And then it ends up being a pull rug, and suddenly all of blockchain is unviable and it's a scam.
Do you feel that there's a lot of misinformation in the market about what happens in the space?
Definitely, and it's both ways. So I wouldn't say it's just that the news is making up stories. These stories exist, right? But I feel like it's overblown. Like, you don't hear about the new Ponzi in a traditional business. And I'm pretty sure that every day, thousands, maybe more, of Ponzi schemes happen and get discovered.
Scams is everywhere.
But because it's so traditional, people are used to it. It's not a big news, right? But this new technology, blockchain technology, a new Ponzi, a new fraud happened, it will blow up much more.
Yeah,
but also sometimes I feel like that some projects fail not because they are a fraud or a Ponzi scheme. It's because sometimes I feel like blockchain developers are guilty of this. They over-promise and under-deliver, when
Yeah.
usually in business you always under-promise and over-deliver. You don't want to set the expectations really high. Maybe you have that expectation of yourself and you know that you will be eventually able to achieve those expectations, but once you launch your project and you already told the people the very end goal, they will have that expectation from the project at launch.
Yeah.
So you have to make it clear, at least, is that it will be a work in progress. Maybe for the first few months, this is the functionality that we're aiming for, and then we will increase it by this much until we hit our end goal.
Yeah.
Do you think that the blockchain technology is underestimated when put next to AI?
I honestly don't have an answer to that, because they're two separate things that can work together.
Yeah.
So it's like saying, I don't know, it's like comparing two different markets. You can't say that something is underestimated or overestimated compared to something else. But what I would say is that AI is much more mainstream right now.
I think with AI, the end products that consumers are using are much more seamless than blockchain. And if we look at where the future is heading with blockchain-based application, it's the applications that are more seamless to the end user are the ones that will remain. And then you will see these complicated projects, just people would move away from them.
Yeah, definitely. Because again, you have to think about how to make it easier for people to access the blockchain project.
Yeah,
and this is again with every technology. You don't want to make a huge shift that people will think that they will have to stop using everything they know and learn something completely new. You'll have to adjust for people's needs, not make people adjust for you.
I think the reason people are so intrigued by AI is because of what AI does. AI is like very fascinating to work with because it's very foreign to us, right? It's like interacting with
also
a robot
for some reason, like it's much more mainstream because you've watched a movie probably about an AI taking over the human race. So I think it's part of the excitement that is making people interact with AI more than, for example, blockchain. You've never seen a movie about blockchain, I tell you that.
The interaction with blockchain, I think, is, I don't know, it's like putting a helmet on when you ride a bike, because it's like the safety, the transparency, it's just not as appealing when you describe it in terms of words, if you want to compare that to AI. I think that's why AI has a lot more attention. The media obviously plays a huge part in how people shift their focus between one thing to the other as well.
I think ChatGPT made a big impact. Sure. And then you suddenly you've seen it's as if you had a beads and then you cut it and all the beads started coming in down, and all the AI applications. Every day you Google something, you find a new AI application.
Also, not that all of them work well, right?
Yeah. And do you think it's going to happen to
with blockchain?
Yeah.
What
the bead cut, the
I mean, there has to be a breakthrough project, right? This one thing that everyone will talk about right now. Again, even the examples that I gave, people are using those, but they don't even know that they are using those. So maybe in the future something will come that will be marketed as the blockchain project, similar to ChatGPT as the AI project, right?
I think one of those things is going to be digital identity. I think that's going to be big.
I feel something like digital identity, yes, because again, then you will be conscious that this digital identity is built on the blockchain.
Yeah, you're interacting with it directly. Even as well as that, I think how we pay for our coffee, how we pay for our food.
I think finance is definitely it is currently the biggest industry impacted by what's happening in the blockchain. But I like how you also put in digital identities.
Digital identities, even implementing. So one cool way I think is gonna really change how we do things. So you know how now when we drive electric cars, for example, if you take Tesla, for example, the way you can interact with the car through the application, you don't even need to carry a key. Everything opens, you close the car, you you put it on dog mood, whatever you want. I think once we start to even use blockchain, for example, to identify you as the owner of the car directly using your digital identity, that's going to be as well a very interesting implementation to see.
What's a final word for our audience?
Again, we said it before, but the best time to start is now.
Now, yeah.
It is still a new field. There are the chances now are greater than the chances you'll find even tomorrow.
Yeah.
So at least read about it if you're interested, make an informed decision, weigh out the pros and cons, and at least make a decision, even if that decision is no, I won't pursue blockchain development, but at least you've done your work.